Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. After frankly years of controversy, Sinatraa has come out last night with another statement. What he says is the final statement on all the allegations and the drama over the last couple of years. His ban by Riot Games from competing, that his ban was lifted, whether he's going to get back into competitive play. Lots of potential new information in here, especially the bias that he saw in the investigation at the time, and the bias that he believes might well get him banned by Riot entirely, having revealed this stuff to the public. What do you guys think in the comment section below? Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Loads to get into today as always. Firstly, Liquid, they've confirmed their new team. Nat stays, it's Keiko, PattyTech is there, of course, Camera and Kamek. I thought the PattyTech thing, it's nice to see for him, obviously. I do find it interesting that Heretics were having lots of good success with PattyTech last year as a sub. And, well, they obviously, their intention was to say, look, Paddy, we're not going to keep you around, stuck on the bench of the roster. We're going to allow you to, fly, spread your wings, go to another team. And I think that's going to be good for him. But, of course, recently Heretics played that tourney and they needed a sub. And, Paddy could have come in very handy. But, no, this is the roster. Am I excited about this team? Yeah, I'm not, buzzing about it. I think there's some optimism here that Liquid could be good. I don't think it's necessarily going to be one of the strongest teams in the European side. There are probably a couple of other teams out there in EMEA that look a bit more stacked, Vitality, Fnatic, stuff like this. But I think it's a pretty exciting team. I do like the lineup, certainly far better than average, I would say. I'm interested to see how this team compares to a roster like Karmine Corp, because KC also have potential, but I'm not so sure how the pieces are going to fit together there. So yeah, tweet your thoughts on that roster in the comments section below. We also have to mention unbelievable scenes. The Radiant Asia Invitational. DFM, we saw yesterday, they'd taken down Paper X 2-0, which, was a mesmerizingly impressive result, I thought. And, well, we've got another interesting series cooking we're going to discuss here in a second. But we talked about the series yesterday, the 15-13, and then honestly a bit of a demolition job here on the Ascent. Another interesting comp that Paper X are cooking up here on the Ascent, and I don't really know always what Paper X are cooking. I think they do a lot of these results themselves sometimes, to be honest. But yeah, DFM, what an awesome result for them, and just from where they were last year to now where DFM look like they're going to be going into this season. Obviously, we know how big the Japanese scene is. It's not like their team is entirely Japanese, but there's an awful lot of support from the Japanese scene to this team right now. And obviously after Zeta Division have somewhat disappointed over the last couple of years or so, this is maybe the opportunity for Japanese Valorant to get back to a decent point. This, however, was another remarkable result. So this DRX team, I don't hate it, but I don't think it's great compared to, let's say, T1, for example. The changes that Gen.G made, I don't think Gen.G's changes will make them better. I don't think they're going to make them that much worse. T1's roster I very much like, as you guys know. And DRX, not so sure. I mean, the changes they made, High Min coming in, Athan obviously freeing, and then I like Flashback and Mako, but I thought getting rid of Foxy9 was a mistake, and obviously he's gone elsewhere and has done pretty well. So Trace Esports, fascinated to see how the Chinese scene develops, right? Because I think it was a big question last year, having Edward Gaming won the World Championship. We were wondering what that's going to mean for Chinese Valorant. Are we going to see the other teams very much step up? Because all of a sudden, it wasn't just Edward Gaming dominating regionally and going internationally and getting slams. All of a sudden, it was like, no, Edward Gaming, yes, they're winning regionally, but actually every team that plays them in region also has the potential to do serious damage internationally, because they've finally got over that, it's almost like a mental barrier, right? I think there was probably a feeling of Chinese Valorant players that, okay, we're not quite at the level of the other regions. And maybe even if they didn't think that, maybe there's some way inherent that that's true, because you see Edward Gaming winning your region, going internationally and doing okay but not great. As soon as you see Edward Gaming going internationally, winning the World Championship, all of a sudden it's a very different conversation in terms of what the theoretical ceiling of many of these players is. We know the mechanical skill is always going to be there. And Trace Esports, they 13-7 DRX on the Sunset, and they 13-10 DRX on their own pick, slammed him on the attacking side of Split to close out the series. And that eliminates DRX from the tournament. So, mega results. As it stands, if I hit the refresh here, we have Paper X versus Trace Esports. The winner of this one, of course, matches again against DFM in the grand finals tomorrow. So, mega series. And early on, Paper X have taken a sizable advantage here on the split. So, this is a best of 5 though, right? So, it's a big series, many hours of Valorant ahead. PaperX, of course, are going to be the serious favourites for this one, and if they do get to the grand finals again and play DFM, because of course DFM took down Trace Esports 2-1, and they took down PaperX, well, we'll see that series tomorrow whether PaperX could get revenge, because, you know, they really should win this tournament, shouldn't they? But, yeah, it's not so clear that's going to be happening right now. As Ominous says, he basically put together his tier list the other day on where the teams ranked, and to be honest, already when I saw this, I thought, you know what, DFM might be getting somewhat underrated here. But, yeah, as he says, I guess DFM is quickly going to climb up the tiers at this rate. And it's nice to see a lot of the reaction from the Japanese scene as well. Of course, some of the plays that the Japanese scene have been making and the reaction to it, and just how hard that scene goes. Not even just on Twitter as well, but yeah, mega community. Good to see them getting, you know, the players and the success that I think that community deserves. Now, we also have a big result yesterday as the development of the upper semi-finals of the playoffs in Stage 3 of Challenges in North America has been going down. This was a big series. YFP Gaming, notable players, Jake, of course, as we know, Stella, Penny, Thief, Physic, etc., played up against the Rankers. Now, these boys are basically ranked kids, and it's been a big debate over the last few years, and it continues to rage on, really, to say, okay, does ranked matter that much? Players that are able to, you know, solo carry their team to wins, you know, get to Radiant and absolutely fry, are they good enough to compete with top tier players? And the feeling is generally been probably no, certainly in a team environment, no. But no, apparently not. Fair play to Baby J, InspireJ, people are calling him now, right? Because he used to be Baby J, now he's Inspire. I kind of like InspireJ, it's somewhere in the mix anyway. But it seems like the Baby J redemption arc is officially in full force this season. Because Inspire had a banging series on the Cypher, 42 in 27, absolutely kill. And to be fair, the rest of the team fried as well. But it's a very fascinating storyline that these guys, led by Baby J in many respects, are absolutely cooking right now in challenges. And it's actually a very exciting storyline to watch. YFP started well on the Sunset, then they got absolutely slammed, and then the Ascent they did win 13-8, but on the Split 13-2, slam them back. Usually we see split deciders go down to the wire. Not the case at all this time around. And if we look at the rest of the tournament as it stands, we got Nightblood Gaming taking down Winthrop University as well, so that was a pretty big series win for them, and we see it's Nightblood Gaming versus Rankers in the upper finals, and of course that's only one series away from the championship. A couple of big teams have been eliminated, such as TSM. That's what I'm saying, right, about this Rankers team. They took down YFP that 2-0'd TSM, and TSM then got 2-0'd by Blue Otter. So, yeah, pretty disastrous, I'm not going to lie, for a number of teams. MXS for TSM, and it looks like there are going to be some surprising names making it all the way through to be winning this championship. But let's talk about this Sinatraa drama, right, because, you know, I'm not going to go into all the details of the allegations again from back in 2020. People know the story on that. But just wanted to kind of break down the timeline of events over the last couple of years, because in April 2022, that's when Sinatraa came out with kind of like this famous twit longer where he basically said that as far as he is concerned from the Riot Games perspective, he's, you know, free to compete again, and he had to do this training, which maybe he never did, and I don't know, it's all a little bit confusing what happened behind the scenes here, but obviously he put out this this email that he got in January and wanted to clarify the fact about the situation. Then of course he returns to competitive briefly last year, the start of last season, when he played in that kind of kickoff tourney with Prod, Marved, Zobs, and Dizzy or whatever. And, you know, Sinatraa was like, look, I'm not returning to competitive play. And there's been lots of theories as to whether Sinatraa would come back, just because even last season, right, he trials with NRG. And there's still a bit of a question as to whether Riot want Sinatraa back in the scene or whether they don't, because of, you know, the potential implications of that. And we'll discuss Sinatraa's perspective on that in a second. The reality is he's a good enough player to come back if he probably wanted to, and if there were the interest from teams to make it happen. NRG trialed him, they eventually decided to go a different direction, you know, for whatever reason it is somewhat unknown, but this was of course the discussion at the time, and yesterday we got a big update on this. As Sinatraa said the following: this is the last time I will ever speak about the situation because I've been over it for a long time, but Prod somehow convinced me to comment on my side of things. So we give some more information on, you know, the video, the audio transcript that came out a couple of years ago, and that was his POV on that. The more interesting thing to me is the implication that this investigation was biased against him, right? Because, you know, that's a pretty big deal, and I think we've kind of known that Sinatraa has felt this way, whatever is actually the truth of the matter, which we're probably never going to fully know. But obviously Riot made the decision that they did, and he was suspended, and he couldn't play for some time, and obviously that's basically ended his competitive career. And whether the investigation was fair or not fair, that is, of course, well, Sinatraa clearly gives his thoughts on that. So one of the issues was he was apparently not cooperating or lying on a couple of occasions. He says he did fully cooperate with the investigation to the best of my ability. He says that he thought that she would have to provide the video because she was accusing him of the assault, right, rather than the other way around, but he didn't post the video because of that reason. His lawyer said it was okay, and then basically I guess Riot said that he wasn't cooperating with the investigation as a result of this. I thought this statement was kind of interesting though. I understand though, because of the nature of the allegations and it being 2020, you know, Me Too movement, stuff like this, they had to make me look as bad as possible so they don't take backlash, he says. And then he talked about the second lie, so now his current girlfriends, and they asked him a question on whether they are still like okay, and like it turned out that Emma had actually gone to take a couple of days to herself basically to, you know, get over the situation because it was difficult to manage, I guess, from her side, and understandably to clear her head, as Sinatraa describes. And he then says that she immediately regretted leaving me alone. That's his current girlfriend, right? Not the you know, individual raising the allegations. And back in the day, if you guys aren't fully familiar with the story, but anyway, that apparently was him lying because he wasn't aware that, you know, she wasn't fully okay with the situation. I don't know. It's all a bit confusing. This to me is the most damning suggestion from Sinatraa, and for me by far the most interesting, and you know, the new information that we really have in the case, I would say. I don't even know why I'm adding this because it'll probably get me banned or something, but I just think this is unacceptable. Below is a screenshot of Alex Francois, head of esports at Riot, former Riot, and we'll discuss in a second, and head of my investigation. Not 100% sure he was head of my investigation, but he was the one to make the final decision of my ban, I'm 90% sure. Liking this Twitter post about me before the investigation has even started or completed, so it seems like his mind was made up already. So and he apparently can confirm this screenshot is real, and then he kind of gives his clarification. Basically this was the crux of the matter, was this reply here. So this comes out of this Alex Francois guy. We'll have a look at his thing in a second, and seemingly he liked this tweet from obviously this is a good couple of years ago at this point, of like the Bape kid or whatever they used to call it, right? And I want to hear Sinatra's side of the story. So basically making fun of people who were suggesting that Sinatraa had a side of the story to give. I think that's the implication, right? And him liking this tweet does imply, for sure, as Sinatraa is suggesting, that his minds over the nature of the allegations and the conclusion of those allegations, especially in the time frame we're talking about, was already made up before the investigation had got underway. And this was the individual in question. His Twitter account is still very much here. He's now director of strategy at the NFL, former head of competitive operations at Riot Games. So yeah, this is the guy that Sinatraa is basically calling out. The, you know, situation comes to a conclusion. Dapper, many others are backing him up. But yeah, enter your thoughts in the comments below. Might be the last we ever talk about this Sinatraa drama. Feels like every couple of years it's coming up again because people are suggesting whether he's going to get back into the league or not, exactly what his status is and all of that. But yeah, this was a new kind of bit of evidence raised from his side, so definitely worth discussing. Enter your thoughts as always in the comment section below. The truth behind this matter is probably never going to be fully laid bare and out there, but hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.